For how many of you, this is the first offline event ever since March 2020? This is the first offline event that I am conducting since March 2020. So yes, it's going to be a little different for me. So yeah, a little bit of nervousness, but I think we'll pull it off, okay? And the next question that I have is, how many of you, I mean, we've been listening to really phenomenal speakers, leaders through the day. How many of you want to go up on that stage and sit on those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chairs available? Great, okay. So we'll get to that today, all right? Done, thank you. So, that's some formality that I had to put in. We will start with some quiz, okay? All right. I don't know if there are any prizes for the quiz, but maybe the prize will be to come up on the stage. So we've called this, thanks to Lakshmi. She helped me name the quiz as Name the Dame. All right? Who's she? Yell, scream, or you're going to wait for the mic? No Googling, no image recognition out here. Let's get, and we don't have too much time. I'm seeing the clock ticking away here. Airbnb, she's not Airbnb, but yeah, I mean, something to do with Airbnb using, sorry. Who was that? Who said Bumble? You must speak out loud. What did you hear through the day?
It's Bumble, right? Bumble CEO.
Now everyone's saying Bumble, right? So she's Whitney Wolfe Herd, founder and CEO of Bumble. And this is what she said. When I founded Bumble, it was because I saw a problem I wanted to solve. It was 2014, but so many of the smart, wonderful women in my life were still waiting around for men to ask them out, to take their numbers or to start up a conversation on a dating app. For all the advances women had been making in the workplaces and corridors of power, the gender dynamics of dating and romance still seem so outdated. I thought, what if I could flip it on its head? What if women made the first move and sent the first message? So she says the power lunch is no longer for men. It's time for us to take the seat at the table. And today, she features in the Forbes list. She is number 33 in America's self-made women this year. And she is also in the Hall of Fame, 30 under 30. Okay. Who are these women? Well, the names are out there, but why are we representing these women today on the screen? So they are the amazing women in product management that we need to follow. Okay. We continue with the game. Who can name her? Quick. Loudly. I mean, it's okay, like last time you said Bumble, and if you didn't know the name, it was okay. But yeah. So she is Manisha Raisingani. She's the founder and CTO of Loginext. And she said, 2021 brought in good news with a woman-led tech company going IPO. Who? Which? Nykaa. We all know that, right? This success story was celebrated and ushers in a new age in the post-COVID world, where we are all rooting for more women in leadership roles across the board. And who are these women? All of us who are sitting over here. Who's she? Fantastic. She says, you're not a female founder, you're a founder. She's the co-founder of the Leap Club. Some of you may be part of that. Challenge the status quo, take big swings, rewrite the rules. Your speed of execution coupled with your EQ. And I think, I'm not necessarily a woman in product or a product management professional, but as I was, kind of researching, reading, this was one of the things which was coming up again and again, EQ. The emotional quotient that we women have, right? The empathy that we can display, which is the most important requirement probably to be in product, is your biggest moat. Don't tell anyone, tell you otherwise. No names? She is Monica Jasuja. She's now the head of money management of GoTo Financial. This is what she says. Though product management is not a gendered function, I'm convinced by the nature of who women are, the ability to balance a myriad of viewpoints and personalities across a large cross-functional team, better organized, high on empathy, and persistent to a fault. Much better suited to be exceptional at being excellent individual contributors and leading product teams to their highest potential.
Hello.
We all have a lot to learn from women and how they succeed at the workplace, often against the odds. This is the last one for now. She's Madhuri Maram. She is the founder of this organization company called Experian. And she says, a lens which changed my perspective on making products is to imbibe value of accountability and ownership. How many of us have that, right? We keep saying, oh, you didn't tell me that. I think it's that person's problem. You know, my role and title is only this. Why should I bother about it, right? That's not what it is. Once you have these qualities, accountability and ownership, you will be able to climb any mountain and be focused on product success rather than the task at hand, and underline that. Whether you look at it as a task at hand and I just have to do it and get done with it, or whether you're looking at the big picture. Now, why is it that I've been showing you these pictures and quizzing you? Why? Inspiration, okay? Where are we today? Here? Women product champions, all right? And if you thought that we don't have enough women in product, look at this room. I could not fit all the women in product that we have in our country into this slide. And there are them, and there are more. Okay. And do you wish to see your picture there? Right? So that's where we're going to go. These are the coolest women in India's product ecosystem, and each of you needs to aspire to have your picture there. Next year, maybe, or even this year. All right. So these are some of the questions that came to me as we were planning what we should do today. Some of you who may have followed the social media about this event may have read this. Have you in product is the hashtag. Have you led teams which have only men and wish for parallelism in your team? Put up your hands. Meaning you led teams and there were only men. You wanted more diversity. Okay, some of you do. Have you felt that without representation, which is if there's no woman out there, some new project managers find it challenging to visualize themselves as leaders? So if you don't see a woman leader and you are in that team, you're not able to kind of visualize yourself there. That's not a challenge. I'm so happy. Have you ever felt isolated from social circles at the workplace as you're the only woman in the product team? There's 1, 2, 3, and more hands going up. Okay. Have you pondered how often one stands out and speaks up when one's ideas are left unheard? We've been listening to this through the day. All your ideas have always been heard? People don't even want to put up their hand because they're done with this, right? Have you felt that product management roles are not balanced equally? Okay. I see very few people putting up their hands, so I am assuming the rest don't, believe in any of those questions. They think that, why are you even doing this workshop? I'll be glad if that's the reason. Have you ever felt that the career path and growth in product management is not well defined? Maybe as you came into the room, you were thinking, but I think maybe after whatever you heard this morning and the afternoon, maybe it's kind of opened up a little bit. Have you felt there are fewer women product leaders? You felt it? You continue to feel that? And then there are so many questions, right? So we're going to play. Not Karodpati, but something else. Okay, so you see that. We have 4 quadrants in this room also, okay? So if I'm walking through a path, and there is another one here, so these are the 4 quadrants. And I would like you to do a little bit of movement now. Identify yourselves with one of those 4 quadrants, and I will tell you what those 4 quadrants are. So 1 is this side, on my left side. 2 is this, on my right side. And 3 is this, and 4 is that. And this is what it is. So if you identify with, number 1, role models, there are no role models in women in product, or there are lack of role models in the women in product, or if you disagree and you think there are enough, I would like you to go to this quadrant. Get up, get up, get up. We don't have too much time. Similarly, if you think getting our voices heard is a challenge, or if you feel it is not, and you very strongly want to kind of debate that point, come to this quadrant. And I don't see anyone getting up. I don't know if it's because of the lunch. Okay, you got to get up. If you want to take that seat on the stage. And similarly, quadrant 3 is if you feel there's a lot of unconscious bias when it comes to women, or if you have a very strong point to say that no, there's absolutely no bias, this is the place for you. And the 4th one being a product professional, if you feel there are challenges, you want to talk about those challenges, then you come to 4. Or if you feel there are no challenges in that space, come to 4. And I know some of you may want to be in all 4, which is not possible. And I will also tell you that if you do not go to a particular quadrant which you resonate with too much, because you just want to sit over there and try and digest your lunch, you will be in deep trouble. So go find the quadrant which you like to be part of. I give you 30 seconds. Come on, move around. Fast. Or I don't know if, like Neeraja Ganesh, you just decided I'm not going to move. Thank you, Sneha. Move fast. And take your seat. First, that you'll get, you don't need to know the answers. You first, so if you feel that you have a strong viewpoint on quadrant 1, okay? Have you felt that without representation, some new product managers find it challenging to visualize themselves as leaders? Have you felt that there are fewer women product leaders? Sorry, if this is what, either so 4, only 4? Only 4. So we have 3, and we have a space for a 4th person. Please come on board. Okay, all right. What I'm saying is that the people who have identified themselves as wanting to have a discussion or contribute in form of their thoughts to these 2 questions, basically on the theme of there aren't enough role models in product management for women, or they feel there are enough, we would like them to come on stage to have a 5-minute discussion, okay? And we have 4 people there. I hope you have your mics. Please introduce, and we leave it to you now to kind of discuss on this topic. I hope there are both points of view here. Who feels that there aren't enough role models? Okay, and
India, no. Outside, yes.
And who feels there are enough? Okay, all right, good. Okay. Please come. Quickly, 5 minutes. We would like to hear from you the viewpoints around that topic. Could be these specific questions or more. Why do you think there aren't enough role models, or why do you think there are enough? Whichever way. Because some people do feel there are enough. So why is that feeling? Go ahead.
Okay, I feel that there are no enough role models because instead of looking at a worldwide perspective, I would directly look in my department itself, where I would like to reach to a role model and get inspired.
Okay.
But in that small department or team itself, when there are 80% of managers who are dealing with product management and only 20% of women leaders, I could really correlate that there is a lack of product managers amongst women.
Okay.
And I always feel that there should be a good handhold for women to grow, because from the morning, whatever sessions were happening, they were clearly mentioning that, yes, women should be at the top so that they can give a handhold to the people who just want to climb up the ladder. And if there is no enough percentage of product management leaders at top, then how that will happen?
Okay. Someone who counters that viewpoint to say that there are enough role models. I have found enough role models.
I would say we do have a lot of role models, but when we talk about India, we do not have the C-level or women product managers at a very extremely high position. And the reason I say that, and I see that as a lack, because you can meet a lot of experienced folks in the events, you can network with them, you can have them as your coach, mentors, everything can happen. But then if you really want to learn and get to understand their lives, it is important. If that person is probably my skip boss or my skip to skip, it's easier for me to understand the way they are managing that role, coming up with solving problems or inspiring. We get to know them more closely.
Okay.
So I just feel that that's
those who want to agree, disagree?
So I'd just like to, firstly, I'm Smriti. I work as a product manager for cybersecurity products at Juniper Networks. So I think firstly, it's very important to understand what product management as a career is. We all know what a software engineer does. We all know what a QA testing engineer does, etc., etc. And then it's important to understand what a product manager role is of, especially in the technology industry. So it is a role which has come up over the last 10 years. It's important to recognize that. So I would say that now that this is a role which is relatively new to a lot of other roles in the technology industry that have existed for like a couple of decades already. So it is important to understand firstly what a product manager role is of and what are actually the skill sets that are needed to become a product manager. So once you understand what are these skill sets, this is when you start working on those skill sets.
So do you believe there are role models that you can look up to?
So this is where I would like to come to that fundamental question of why do women only need women as role models? Why can't men also be our role models as well? Right? And even if they are in India, even if they are abroad, etc., we are all part of the very global companies working here in Bangalore and in other places, right? The world is very global. So yes, there are definitely these disparities that exist between men and women in various facets of life. But I think I'm of the fundamental viewpoint of that why women cannot have men as role models as well. And secondly, I think the fundamental reason that is stopping women or hasn't encouraged women enough to get into product management roles is not that we don't have enough role models, but it's just that we don't understand this role well enough.
Okay, so that's for the quadrant 4 to understand the careers in product management. Okay, you had a viewpoint. I will allow her first because we have time ticking. Yes?
Sure. So I'm Abhinaya and I'm into
You may want to bring it closer. I think they can't hear.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Abhinaya and I'm into product management for the past 5 years and I work for a company called Genesis. So my viewpoint when she was saying that we could take even men as a role model, I accept that to an extent. But if I want, why is that I want a woman leader is because I want to get inspired. That's the root cause for me to grow as well.
And I think that there aren't enough.
There isn't enough.
And that's
like there could be men, that's okay. But for me to get inspired, I think women is more a better way for me to get inspired and grow.
Okay. Do you have a point of view? Because we'll wrap up with that.
So yeah, hi, I'm Falak. I'm working with Rakuten, and I can proudly say that in our product team, we have 50% of diversify ratio. And when I think about leader, it not need to be a product leader, right? If I want to get inspired, any inspiration I am looking that I can get from any different leader. Like we had a good amount of panel discussion. We had all these leaders in front of us who were inspiring us, and we had very good thoughts coming out from their experience. So even though we say that we don't have much presence in terms of product, women in product leadership role, but yeah, we do have good amount of ratio in all other different roles, not needed to be product, right?
Thank you so much. So she says that, okay, even if we don't have enough women in product to look up to, we have enough women leaders across.
Yes.
And to derive inspiration, anybody is good enough. Could be a man also. And that's how this particular topic has been discussed. Thank you for your valuable points. So this is what I would like to talk about. If the problem statement is that there is a lack of women leaders, role models in product and product management, the solutions that I could offer beyond whatever we heard through the day, you don't need to necessarily see them around you, right? Like to the point that one of you mentioned, that I would like to see them in my team. So what? There are enough people around, and I think the quiz that we started with, and I just kind of showed you 4, and then on that slide there were probably 25 or 50 more, and in this room we have 300 odd, and there'll be many more. So you don't necessarily have to find them in your team. They are there. And how do you go find them? Today is the internet world. Today is the social media, kind of really opened up to us as a public domain. So consume the content written by the women leaders. That's where you find your role models. The premise that I want to go with for the workshop, and I think largely when you heard every person on every panel speak about, is that NASSCOM will do whatever they have to do to kind of educate the companies, the organizations, the leadership to say that, hey, you need to do X, Y, Z to have more women representation in your organization. What are we going to do? Are we going to sit here and say, there is no one in women in product? There are no role models. Unless and until I see someone over there, I don't think I can reach there. Is that what you're going to do? Or are you going to grab and look around to see who can I find, who can I learn from, and where do you find and learn from? There's enough and more. There are plenty of books out there, and you don't necessarily need to kind of hear from a woman in product. Because if you heard through the day, everybody did not start in product, right? Like somebody says, just a 10-year-old, kind of a new role that was created. So anybody can be an inspiration for you to say, okay, and then you kind of marry it to the current role that you are in and say, let me go ahead, let me try this out. So there's enough books, there are enough social media articles, there are podcasts, there are video interviews that you can get inspired by. Those are your role models. Now what are you going to do? Are you going to go today and calendarize that every day I'm going to, read one article, go find articles written by these women, and take one point as a takeaway? There was one point that was a takeaway in all the women leaders that I showcased. That one point, and that's what I'm going to make my action item for the next 1 month, next 1 year, so that I reach that position and I come up on that slide. Okay, so we can keep cribbing and say there are lack of role models and that's the reason why we are not growing. Or you can do one of the things that is put up on this slide, or any of the other actionables that you could take from whatever you heard so far today, right? Attend networking events like this. It is important because you get your inspiration just by looking at the fact that there are 300 other people like this with me. They are your role models, and you are the role model for them. So what do you do when you come to such events? You don't sit in a corner, listen and go home, right? You got to network. You got to kind of find out what the others are doing and learn from them and remain connected and ensure that you continue the learning and seek out mentorship. How many of us are willing to do that? Are you waiting for your organization to launch a mentorship program? And then say, here is your mentor. And then you go and calendarize those meetings. Or are you going to seek out a mentor? Anyone here who just said randomly, I found someone on social media and I reached out to that person and said, will you be my mentor, or I want some guidance from you? Anyone here? 4, 5, 6, 7. Sneha did that. She did that. What stops you from doing that? And I'm sure no one is going to say no to you. So don't wait. If you have a problem that you're seeing, there is enough and more solutions around, or create your solutions, but you can't keep saying this is a challenge and that is why I'm not growing. These are all your role models. And what I'm hoping is that when you go back home today, you'll go find some of these people online, connect with them, start a conversation with them, or maybe just read up about them and do something with whatever you learn about them. Okay, now we come to this part of it, getting our voices heard. 2 people who think that it's a problem, getting your voices heard, and 2 people who think, no, it's not a problem, I've overcome that. 4 of you. Okay, all right, so we have 4 coming up. And so some of the questions that came, some of the challenges that were spoken about in this quadrant were, have you led teams which have only men? And you felt that, if it's an all-male team, I have a problem. We wish for more diversity, but there aren't enough women in product. And have you felt isolated from social circles at the workplace as you're the only woman? Or have you pondered how often one stands out and speaks up when one's ideas are left unheard? And there could be other questions around this, but basically we want you to discuss about, yes, this is an issue. Our voices are never heard. We've tried. Or we've tried and this is the solution that I found for it. Go ahead.
This is one thing that I've tried. Getting our voices heard, yeah, definitely it can be an issue, but something that sort of really worked well for me is that whatever hypothesis I have, I try to validate that with data. I try to sort of, if I have some idea of I work in a B2C fintech startup, and although I am new to product, one thing I've noticed is that since I've joined, one thing I raise my hand up to do is sort of conduct customer interviews, conduct user interviews, and sort of understand what it is a user would need, what's sort of working out in our product, what's not, and sort of get that data validate that entire thing with some data points, some data sets of maybe it could be numbers, maybe it could be opinions of customers, and sort of present that to the leadership team. And I found that it's very hard to say no to that because you're actually sort of presenting a proof and backing up your statement. So that's really worked well for me.
Fantastic strategy. Someone who wants to say no, it is a challenge. All of you feel you've overcome that. We need one viewpoint from someone here who feels that it is a challenge, you've tried it, and yes, you want to come there? Please. Let's hear from her in terms of why she thinks it's a challenge, getting your voices heard.
So, hi, my name is Jalin and I'm a product manager with Speedgaze Technology. So we are basically in the high performance computing space. And so in that, the sex ratio is skewed very much towards men. So I've been on teams, so far all the teams I've been in, I've only been the single product person who's also a woman. So in that case, I feel that, men after work, they kind of, so especially if it's an environment which is, where my personal preference is that I don't drink. So men, who have that habit, they meet up after work for, maybe during smoke breaks, or they meet up, for booze after work. And they get to socialize and they get to kind of like network that way. So as a woman, I've always been shut out of that opportunity. So right now I'm in a product leadership role. So one thing that I'm kind of focused on fostering is an environment where women also get a chance, or which is a totally, an event where the networking is not, just limited, the circle is not just limited to men hanging out.
So anyone who's had this problem where, you have had all men going away for smoke breaks and drinks, and you don't feel comfortable, and hence, how did you kind of figure that out?
We just heard Jerlyn quote a very simple but yet very profound situations, right? these do happen in our workplaces and we feel left out. But then it doesn't have to be that we will have to comply or get ourselves used to what the others are doing, but that is not what we have to do. But then thanks, Jalin, for bringing up that important point. But then, however, what is that we can look at is how can we overcome these situations? And our very own friend Shreya pointed out that it could be spaces where professionally we still are able to stay relevant, where we are still able to put across our point authentically. Maybe it is getting backed up by valid data points, maybe it is getting backed up by experiences that we can always count on, or illustrate where certain other organizations have done it that way, very profound and met with success. But then we also have come across situations where maybe we are trying something new, it is a research, or it is yet to be proven. Then what comes to our rescue is our own confidence and the spirit that we have with which we communicate, articulate what our ideas or opinions are like. And if at that point of time our voices are not heard, it is still fine. After a while, when we can make it happen, we can still make those heads turn around, which at some point of time, we're not open to listen to our voices.
Fantastic.
I totally agree with that, because as long as you learn to say no, also it's very important. You don't have to agree with everything that comes up. So sometimes you can stand out by saying no. That's very, very important, because in my day-to-day basis, I work in Philips. I work as a product owner services architect. So in my day-to-day basis, I have to take some important decisions sometimes. So I have always said no. I never agree with people coming forward, putting their hypothesis, because if I feel it's not right, I have said no. And some people have had problems with me, but I honestly don't care about it as long as the proposed solution works.
Thank
you. That's what is important.
We'd like to hear from Ubella, and then we'll kind of move on.
So I'm Ubella from Target. So as everybody said, I just wanted to bring out one point. I think you have to be consistent enough and do the right thing. For example, couple of years back is when I meet with a lot of women. I am part of Jobs for Her and Aspire for Her as a mentor. So I hear many women talking about all these things. So so I was trying to find out why people think. So the only thing is probably you don't talk, you don't put yourself there. For the past 2 years, if you see, I have been very active on LinkedIn and other platforms where I connect with people. It's like you have to be very consistent in, many people try, tell once or twice, and then they feel they're not heard, and then they just drop it off. I think you should not drop the ball there.
And Ubella is an example of having connected with someone with me. You know, she kind of reached out and she said, I want to talk to you and I want a meeting. And, of course, I offered her time and we chatted up.
Yes.
So thank you for those thoughts. Please take your seat. So here is the problem. I'm not saying that the problem doesn't exist. It does, and not only in product, it exists everywhere. But this is what some of our leaders are saying to that. That's Shelley Perry, who's an investor. She's a board director. She's a product leader. And she says, I tell women that if they don't raise their hands, men will. And today you had an opportunity here when I said 4 people come up on stage. How many people put up their hands? 4. Why? So it's not a problem about men here. It's a problem with women, right? We don't put up our hands. So if you're not going to put up your hands when it is an all-women conference, I don't know what you'll do when there are men and maybe you're the only woman. So again, reflect. Why don't we do that? And then you can't complain. The man will get the job. Those men will get the job even if they are not qualified enough because they put up their hand and you didn't. Maybe it's because you felt you did not tick off all the 10 points in the JD. Or when you are at the table, you felt, okay, I have not collected all the data. It's a great input. Ensure that you have all the material available with you, but you can't be doing analysis paralysis, right? 80% is good enough. Maybe 60% is good enough. Speak up. So what if somebody has the other 40% of the data and is going to debate it out? It's all right. You still get your voice heard. And there's our own Vindhya. She says, a lot of people will try to tell you that you are here because of being a diversity hire. We heard that from Malti. Right? So what? I like that statement where she said, I don't care. They can say whatever and they can think whatever, but you are there. You have the seat. What are you going to do about that? correct? Don't get defensive. I just want to tell you that no matter what people think, as long as you do a great job, you can own the narrative that you write. So this is me, and hopefully I'm able to play this video.
How do I make sure my voice is heard when I am the only woman in the room at meetings, etc.? Yes, I've had this predicament many times, because most of the times, as I have grown in my career ladder, I have been the only woman in many, many meetings. And let me narrate a story, right? So in one of the organizations that I was working for many years, I was part of one business unit, and then I moved on to another business unit. So I was absolutely new in the second business unit. People didn't know me. And after a couple of meetings that I attended with the head, one person in that team at the third meeting came and asked me whether I am a Leo. And I said, no, I'm a Cancerian, but what makes you think that I'm a Leo? What about me makes you think that I'm a Leo? And he said, I have noticed that every time you come for meetings, you go and take this seat, which is supposed to be the head of the table seat at the table. And that made him think that maybe I am a Leo. So the moral of the story is that people notice. You are an only person, you are a woman, people notice. They take notice of you. Whether it is another woman or another man, they take notice. And all of this makes a lot of difference in terms of which is the seat at the table that you take. I'm not telling you to go and take the head of the table seat, but research says that if you go and sit at the middle of the long side of the table, especially if it is facing the door, then you have all the more chances of you becoming more visible and people hearing you and looking at you and listening to you. So that's in terms of your positioning at the table where you sit. Second, you have to speak up. I know there's going to be a lot of noise with the rest of the male colleagues in the room, and hence, especially if your voice, my voice is loud, but if your voice is not loud because of the tone of your voice, then you have to ensure that you find a way to speak and listen. Even if you're interrupted, it's fine. Go ahead and speak once again. A few things that you can do is don't make it a very longish statement, break it into shorter statements, because the minute you have a very longish statement, people will be put off. If they're already thinking, okay, why should I listen to the woman? Then, a very long statement will not really cut through. So make it short, precise, to the point, and punchy statements, which will make sure that, people will listen to you. You have to keep at it, even if you are interrupted. Like I got an interruption just now. Sometimes you may have made a point and nobody actually seconded it, but the same point could have been made by a man much later. It's okay, but in a nice way, you should go ahead and compliment the man and then say, I think I said the same thing 20 minutes ago. Maybe you people missed listening to me. So yes, there are strategies, there are ways, there are tips, there are tricks, but you have to make that happen.
That's all there is. No way out. If you keep sitting over there and say, sorry, my voices are not heard, you will keep sitting over there. Moni, you want to say something? You actually took the stage today.
Sorry, yeah, I also wanted to add a point that it happens not even in the crowd, even one-to-one meeting when you have a brilliant idea and the men will hear it, and then it will happen that, they present it on their side of you and you are cut off from there. So make sure whenever you think you are not being heard, you at least after the meeting write an email to confirm that you have participated and your voice is getting heard, at least on a written statement.
Thank you. I think your daughter is saying, my voice needs to be heard. All right. We go to quadrant 3. We don't have much time, so we need to do this quickly. Unconscious bias. So, have you felt that product management roles are not balanced in terms of gender or anything around the unconscious bias that creeps in? And we need 4 people out here. Let me see who are the 4. Now I see a lot of hands being raised. Okay, so I need to choose. Kavita, you're not sitting there. You're sitting in the wrong place. Any September birthdays? Who raised their hands? September birthdays? Tomorrow you'll, oh, happy birthday. You'll prove to me with your birth certificate. All right. How many of you took the Uber today to come to Taj? And I want to see the receipt. Okay, go ahead. So I need both viewpoints, okay? One, those who say that there is bias, and those who
say no.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's purely based on your talent. There's no unconscious bias. Of course, there are equal opportunities, like if you are getting the same opportunities or not, that's a different story. But I wouldn't say there is some unconscious bias. When we hire, I'm a founder and director of Spacing Technologies, so I keep hiring many people. And I do not see anything based on the gender. I just see purely talent. So there is no, and believe me, if I'm here, it's not because of my gender. I create my own path, and that's why I am here right now.
Someone who says there is bias, because I need that viewpoint.
Yeah. So I do feel there's a little bit of bias attached because the role product management requires one to work across multiple functions, and there is this bias that women are not able to be assertive, they're not able to say no, and they have this likability factor associated with them, so they find it difficult to have tough conversations, whether it is with the sales team or sometimes with the development or the QA team, when they have to say no and they have to take tough product calls. So apart from that, we also know that product management is a little challenging in terms of sometimes having to put in a lot more hours. So I have seen that recruitment, they generally look at first, okay, whether the person is willing to make some sacrifices in their personal front to be able to add a lot of value in the company, depending on the stage the company is in, like if it's an early stage or a growth stage or a start stage.
So I would like to say most of it is perceptions, right? So there is a lot of perception, which is true, which you have to break, and there are barriers to be broken in terms of perception, but there is no bias.
There is no bias,
there
absolutely
is
no bias.
absolute talent, and you need to sort of bring out what you have, and it's more a mindset challenge, right? You need to feel confident, you need to put yourself out there. There are a lot of perceptions to break, but there is no bias.
Thank you. Last word.
I would compliment both the sides as somebody.
To your quadrant there.
Yeah. So for me, I think when we start off early, so when I started my journey in 2013, at the 4th year, I was given an option to lead a project which had multiple stakeholders across locations. And I said, I think I'm too early. And the only thing that the male leader gave me a feedback was, yeah, I'll give you a situation, you will jump into it, you'll solve it, and you will have that. But I didn't take that opportunity. I learned my lessons there. So yes, bias exists. The biggest bias is from our end, and if we are able to solve through that, and I think after that, whatever came my way, I moved my way. I transitioned from developer to integrator to a product owner, and now I just moved to Bangalore last week, and I'm
Welcome to Namma Bengaluru. You brought the reins with her.
and right now at the OFE position, reporting to one of the GLs at Bosch. So I think it's more about what you want, how you want, and how you pursue the journey. And bias will exist. I'm not going to say that it is not going to exist, but how you find your way out. And I think we really got some good tips. I think if we're going to employ that, leverage that, I think the journey is ours there.
Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy Bangalore.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your... So what do we do, right? So again, the problem is there bias? There is bias. Let's not deny it. There is bias. There's a lot of unconscious bias, right? Conscious bias we are not talking about. But when it is unconscious, what can we do about it? So here is Yana, who says, I've seen many women in leadership roles turn a blind eye to blatant sexism, not to mention unconscious bias. They are tired, like some of us are today, correct? But no, that's not something that you can afford to get tired. You have to be at it. You have to continue trying to do the right thing even when it is hard. You can't give up. And there's Ragini Verma from Fine. She says, we as women have heightened intuition power when it comes to our customers. Always listen to that. I have made a lot of unpopular decisions based on what I intuitively thought would be best for our customers, and it has worked 99% of the time. Okay, so how do we deal with this? The first thing is awareness that all of us are biased. The bias doesn't come only from the men, even women are biased. So I always narrate this story, and the Jobs for Her team is here, that when I was in Capgemini way back in 2016, I was asked to put out a recommendation to hire women on a career break. And within me, I said, what's the big deal? I mean, why do you need a recommendation? You hire men, you hire women, you go hire women on a career break, right? But I couldn't put that out as a recommendation, so I did some research and I put out a paper. And then I went to a conference which was for women on a career break, and that is when I heard from these women who've taken a career break in terms of how difficult it is for them. And since 2016, things have definitely improved by 2022. In fact, today many, many companies only want to hire women on a career break, and the joke that I crack is that maybe each of us has to take a sabbatical to be able to get our next job. But being a woman, I had that bias because I never took a career break in my life. So the bias exists because of the conditioning, because of the way you've grown up, and hence empathize that they're not doing it intentionally. This is unconscious. So can we be aware that everyone will be biased, and hence what can we do about it? Can we educate the other person? Maybe they didn't even know they said something which was a very biased viewpoint. So if you need to take action, it is not about sitting and saying he's biased, or she's biased. You've got to do something about it. So there are a few things you've got to speak up. And some techniques in that is call it out. So, for example, if you were cut short, you can just call it out by saying, I'm not yet completed. Please allow me to finish mine, and then you can take it over. So you can just be kind of very firm about it. That's one way to do it. If you feel there is bias and the woman is not being, allowed to speak. But then when you do that, also remember that you could be considered aggressive, right? A woman's assertion is always considered aggression. Be aware of it, and it's okay, all right? Don't worry about it. But you could make it a little softer. You call it out by saying, when somebody, kind of cuts you through, say, I was saying the same thing. Let me finish, and maybe you can add to my point. So there are different strategies that you can employ, and you can decide based on the environment, the situation, etc. But one of the things that I would like to say, when they say play the long game, you may not want to do it at every meeting. You know for sure this man is always going to cut me short. So in every meeting, if you are going to be, then you are only kind of, he knows you're going to say something, and you know that he's going to say something, and it's only going to be, a power play. So sometimes you may want to kind of let that meeting go past, take the person aside, and kind of say, I noticed this. I'm not sure whether you did it, whether you're aware that you were doing it. If the person really did it unintentionally, we'll learn a lesson. Did it intentionally? May still, kind of have a heightened respect for you because you didn't, point that out in the room. You kind of give him an opportunity to correct himself. So there are various strategies. Allyship is a big thing. You don't have to say it for yourself. You can build allies, could be male allies, to say, you know what, every time I go into a meeting and I say something, they cut me short. Have you noticed that? And if you're able to build a couple of allies, they will do that for you. They will say, hey, Peter or whoever, she's not yet finished. Can we let her finish? And then you can speak. So there are a lot of techniques you can employ, and this itself is going to be in a 2-day-long workshop. We can go into it. But I'm just giving you some tips beyond whatever we heard through the day. So we need to move to the 4th quadrant, which is being a product professional is hard. You feel that you don't have a very definite career path in product. Either you have that as a viewpoint, or you feel that, no, it's kind of very easy to grow in product. I know it all. Or there is no need to have a definite career path. We can kind of carve our own path. Both these viewpoints welcome. Who are the 4 people from this quadrant who would like to talk about this? There's one hand, there are lots of hands. Lots of hands, and we need a woman. I'm sorry, I'm being biased. All right, okay. So the person who gets to go on stage now is not the September born, all right? How many of you don't have a Swiggy app on your phone? Can you prove it to me? Please take the stage. Only Zomato, okay, all right. Okay. Anyone who has an app which allows you to karaoke? Karaoke. I will make you. Which one do you have? Go ahead. All right. Who else? Who else wants to? I'm not going to put any conditions. We need 2 more people who will speak about career opportunities in product management. You would like to go? Please go ahead. I'm not biased because she's wearing a sari, but yeah, just go ahead. So we need both the viewpoints in terms of there is a definite, clear-cut career path available for us in product management, so there is no issue. We know how to grow. And the other viewpoint is no. It's kind of very hazy, and that is why I'm stuck. I don't know what my next move should be. How should I go about it? Who wants to start? Yeah, go ahead.
Hello? Yeah. Hi. So I feel that there's a little bit of ambiguity in this role. In fact, over here, I've met a lot of people who are from varied background, from project management to delivery roles and all of that. Being a part of the life cycle.
The audience.
Being a part of the life cycle of product, I think all of us in a nutshell do contribute to that. But at the end of the day, that kind of brings in an ambiguity and fluidity in the actual role. And the people who are trying to probably grow their career in the product management space kind of take a back seat. That's my thought.
Who wants to kind of say, it's all good?
Hey everyone, this is Vedika. I work for Arcesium. So I believe it's all good. Not just, I have recently transitioned to product. 10 years ago, 8 years ago, I never knew that I could be into product and this could be my career path. So it's okay not to know. We get to know as we move forward. We get to know as we learn, as we develop. And not just the path, not just the career path. If we summarize today's, what I have perceived from today's session or today's conference is that these skills are mandatory to grow as a person, to grow in your life. We just do it and just jump in or being fearless. This is all not just for the product management perspective. This is for the success mantra. This is like a success mantra which we needed as a human. So it's okay if we don't have a path. And nobody knew the path. Maybe, yeah, as we said, the role is quite new. Nobody knew the path that this could come up. Times will change, technology keeps changing, the roles do evolve, the roles do change. All we need to, as a product manager now, is to follow the success mantra and we will definitely make it big. That's what I believe in.
Thank you. Any other viewpoints on, no, we need a more definite career path, or you both are saying it's good? Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, I'm Ashwini. I'm from Siemens, and I'm working as a product manager from last 4 years. And in my view, we have both. In some cases, yes, there is a good career path, and there are cases where, you know, some of, at least 50% of feel that there is no. Why? Because it depends on in which organization or which kind of product we are in. Everything depends on it. There are really good, I don't say good or bad, there are organizations which have a very well-defined career path for the product management, and there are also organizations still struggling to define a PO role. And are
you saying that we need to find organizations where there is a career?
That is what. This is not the case. That once which role we are in, if we prove that it is going good and we are justifying and we could able to contribute in a, if not great way, in a decent way to the development of the business or the product, then definitely the path will evolve. Fantastic. And that is how we achieve.
Allow her to speak because we're running out of time, and I think there's coffee, I don't know, after this.
Hi, I'm Shilpa. I work for Amadeus Software Labs. I would say I'm going to talk on behalf of both positive and negative.
You have 2 minutes.
I have been a product analyst all through my career, 16 plus years. I never knew there is something after product analyst, we could be a product managers or not. But Remember, I have been doing the same job all through. So it is up to the individuals to check out for the opportunities. The career paths definitely existed 16 years back as well. The industry evolution definitely happened over these years. All that was missing from our end is that understanding this is what I want to do. And thanks to the internet world, there is lots to study about, there's lots available. It's us who have to seek the right path. So once we know that, there is definite, even in corporates where it wasn't there before, they are also evolving because the time and the generation changed.
Absolutely.
So we are evolving with it. So those who think it is not there, you should be the one who should work towards it, bring that mindset in your workplace, and there would be a difference definitely.
Thank you. What did we call this workshop? Anyone remember the first slide? You are unique. Blaze the trail. And that's what she is saying. Why are you even waiting for someone to carve out a path? Why can't you carve out? Thank you so much, panel. All right. So, undefined career path and growth in product management, if that is the problem statement. Here is Karthi Subbaraman. Okay. And she started as a software engineer, then she moved on to design and research. She's a founder of an organization, she's a faculty member, and today she's the principal group design manager in Microsoft. And how does she describe her career? 70,000 plus hours of product making, 150 plus products, 500 plus master classes, 1,000 plus failed experiments. That's where she is, right? So there is no one path. Maybe many years ago we felt that, okay, I join as a developer or a software engineer, then, yeah, senior software engineer, and then, okay, maybe a tech lead. There's no such path today. What is that screenshot? It's a screenshot from something that I Googled. I Googled for women in product, and it brought me all of this. I Googled for women in product in India, it brought me all of this. How many people have actually Googled for something like that? You're all wanting to be women in product, right? And that's where you get all your material. Your organizations may have it or may not have it, but there is enough and more available, as someone said, on the internet. Google for it. There are enough and more forums like NASSCOM's Product Council. Become part of it. I already spoke about seeking mentorship. Karthi is the person that Neeraja Ganesh, my daughter sitting over here, reached out to. She's in her final year, okay? And she's trying to figure out whether she wants to be a data scientist or a product manager or who knows what. She just reached out to Karthi and had a 1-hour conversation. She's come to this, bunked college and come to this. Not because her mother is doing this. I'm sure she doesn't want to listen to her mother here also. But she has come here because she wants to kind of understand more about product. So it's all out there. So what I'm trying to say is, people are not going to do it for you. Your career is in your hands. Can we take it up and do something about it? Because I'm sure all of us want to see our pictures on that screen, right? The coolest women in product in India. And I would like to close this by what Apurva Purohit says. When the going gets tough, the first battle women lose is the one in their minds. So can we ensure that we have strong minds? So before we stop this, I want you all to pick up your notebooks if you have, or on your phone, or wherever you can scribble. Visualize yourself as one of those women in that screen. And at the next summit, I want to pull out your picture and one quote from you. So that's the action that I want you to take, to say that when next year I'm going to pull out your picture, this is the quote that I'm going to read out. This is the action that you took because of which you are here today. I want that action planning done here. If you don't do it here, it'll never get done. I'll give you a minute, at least get the thoughts started, so that it will keep, bothering you as you're driving back home, or, in the Uber or Ola or Rapido or whatever, or in the bus, metro, and you will complete that action plan, and you will start working on it from tonight. Because each of us is unique, each of us can be a trailblazer, and we will be, but it all is within us. While your organizations will do whatever, while NASSCOM and other, communities will do whatever. And please be part of such communities because it is very, very important and it helps. But there's also a lot of action that you need to take. What is that one quote? And if someone wants to share, I welcome. One quote, anyone who wants to share. What is that one action that they want to take? And that's the quote that they would like to tell everyone else at the next year's summit, to say, this is what you do to become a woman in product, to be the trailblazer. Anyone wants to share? Here's an opportunity to make your voice heard. And for that, I will ensure that your picture is there next time. Anyone? Someone who's not yet spoken. Yes? You want to come front? Come. Come here.
Hello everyone, Diksha this side. I am a team lead with Vashusa. So for me, what matters to be so that people can call you a role model, It's like when you follow your heart and your mind and just do whatever feel that is ethically correct, then yes, you are on a right path. Because there will be people who will in favor of you, and there'll be people who will say, no, this is not the right way to do it. But trust me, as everyone we are hearing, right? There's nothing right, there's nothing wrong. It's just that you have to follow your path. You need to know why you started. That is very, very important. Even, just to say to your family member also that you're doing something different from other, how they have done it. But trust us, this is the right way. This is what my heart says. So yeah, follow your heart and mind.
And you will get there. Thank
That's
you so
right.
much. We would love to, but Shreya already told me I'm very, very late. So what you could do today, and all of you could put that quote out on LinkedIn. Let's amplify our voices. You can kind of have the hashtag #HaveYouInProduct, tag NASSCOM Product Council, tag some of the people that you have connected with, and put that quote out to say, this is what I'm going to do to ensure that I will be the coolest woman in product in the coming years. Thank you all for bearing with me, and I hope you have done your action planning, and we have some more talks to listen to, and I believe there is a career guidance session, so please do. Those of you who definitely feel, I don't know how to grow in product, please ensure you make the most of the career guidance session. Thank you.